5 hosts, 4 divisions, all battling it out for the Holy Grail of the American Hockey League, the Calder Cup. This is the Holy Grail Podcast. Here are your hosts, Zack Power, Andrew Rinaldi, Corey Swartz, and Deana Weinheimer.
Well, hello and welcome to a special live pregame edition of Field Pass Hockey's American Hockey League podcast, The Holy Grail. If you didn't know already, today is June 19th. It's time for Game 6 of the 2023 Calder Cup Finals between the visiting Hershey Bears and the Coachella Valley Firebirds. This isn't just any Game 6. This is a potential cup clinching Game 6. It's exciting. For the Hershey Bears, could be taking home their 12th Calder Cup in franchise history. For the Coachella Valley Firebirds, it's do or die, basically. But honestly, we're just going to go ahead and get into our introductory question here. So if you're just joining us for the first time, you can get to know us just a little bit better. But I want to know from you two, what is the biggest surprise of the series so far?
Andrew Rinaldi here on the Chicago Wolves and Grand Rapids Griffins beat. And to me, I think it's the fact that Hershey's been able to take the series lead and put themselves on the brink with not a ton of offensive production, at least in comparative to what the Firebirds have been bringing over on their side. I mean, I was just doing a little bit of research. Alexi Protas, that giant Goliath in front of the net on their power play, does not have a single point in this series, and yet the Bears are still chugging along, and with the right kind of effort tonight, could be lifting the cup. I think that's been very surprising to me to see them get it done without these mind-blowing offensive numbers.
And I'm Deana Weinheimer over on the Cleveland Monsters beat. And honestly, for me, after watching the body of work that was put up against or with the offense, especially in the first 4 games of the series, and then to see Game 5 go into overtime scoreless, I was shocked. Zach, you called it on our last episode about especially Joey Daccord having to dial it up to another level. And yeah, I knew that was probably going to happen, but I kind of expected the offense to try to match that. But for that to go in there, I mean, the last time a Calder Cup finals game went into overtime scoreless, it didn't work out so well for the Hershey Bears. That was back in 2016 where they lost the Calder Cup finals to my beat, then the Lake Erie Monsters. So I guess goaltending in that last game would be mine.
Yeah, and I'm Zack Power covering the Toronto Marlies. Goaltending has been no surprise to me, as I kind of alluded to it in the last episode, that he would have to simply turn it up to another notch, and he's really done that. But I think the biggest surprise for me is how much of a factor home ice advantage has had so far this series. I mean, Hershey came out in games 1 and 2 a little flat-footed, unable to find the back of the net, and be it Joey Daccord or something else, I mean, what can you say, right? He's really been a star for them in those first few games. But heading back over to Hershey, it's as much as the Firebirds tried, it just seems that Hershey says, okay, well, we have home ice advantage. We can now play the same way that we did all throughout the season. Now, I don't want to allude too far into what you guys are going to talk about a little later, but home ice advantage is going to be key going into this game as well.
And then here shortly, we are going to be joined by Corey Swartz, who will be checking in live from the Giant Center in Hershey, Pennsylvania, where they are having a, I'm sure, jam-packed watch party. And you know what? It's almost like Beetlejuice. I said his name. He pops in. I'm just going to give it just 1 second here while his audio and all that stuff gets synced up. But if you would like to join the conversation, if you have a question for any of us, for Corey, or just want to let us know who you are cheering for, the Bears or the Firebirds, you can either comment on Facebook and YouTube, or if you are on Twitter, tag us using at the Holy Grail. Again, that's GrAHL, or use THG Live. So we're going to go ahead and try to get Corey in here. And Corey, can you hear us?
I can, but I can't. I can see you guys, but it doesn't seem like my camera is functioning for whatever reason here.
Oh, well, that's the beauty of live everything. So it happens. But, tell us what it's like at the Giant Center so far. What are the vibes? What's going on there with that live watch party?
Well, it's a pretty good crowd here, honestly, for a watch party. Obviously, it doesn't take the Bears fans show up, so there's nothing to worry about in that respect. But it's a great crowd here so far. The line was extending well out into the parking lot here. Lots of fans here. Lots of fans hoping we can see something special here tonight, I think. So it doesn't take much to get Bears fans out here, of course, and we're here. We're ready to roar here. I think we just want a better result than last time we were out here in California. That's for sure.
Maybe a goal or two would help this time around.
It'd be very nice. That's for sure.
I'm sure they're wanting more than just a goal, maybe more like 4 or 5, maybe.
One goal worked out well for them last time. You never know.
Oh, well, fair. Okay.
Corey, what's kind of the vibe with that whole situation in game 1 and 2 where obviously we kind of alluded to it earlier before you jumped on, is they weren't able to find the back of the net. Are fans a little more confident going into this game as they were maybe in games 1 or 2?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a totally different feeling going over there. I mean, the first couple of games, it was still very much a feeling out process, right? The Bears were not terrible in those 2 games. They were unfortunately just average in a couple of periods where they really needed to be better than average. You think back to game 2, all the damage was done in those couple of power plays, a couple of just, unfortunate breakdowns. It was the same thing in game 1. Most of the offense all just kind of came at once. But the Bears are, in a different spot. Right now, I think everything's a little bit different. They have confidence, I think, is the big thing after, a bunch of, really close, but, home wins, I would say, is much more akin to what we've come to expect from these guys, right? Like, it's just completely, those 3 games were Hershey Bears hockey. Now, numbers 1, you don't really want to go to overtime as much as they did, right? Like, that's a little too much on the nerves, a little too, close for comfort. As we saw a couple of times there. But, this is more akin to what we expect from these guys. It's a totally different level of confidence that I see from them. They know they can, defend these guys. They know they can, score on Joey Decord. There's just a lot of things that are different now compared to where they were in games 1 and 2. So I think you're really going to see that be a difference here. That, the Bears are going to come out with a renewed sense of energy. It's not going to be the same situation as games 1 and 2 in my mind.
All right, Corey, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about how we got here, some keys for victory. How's your schedule looking like in about 10, 15 minutes? Do you think you can hop back on as we get a little bit closer to puck drop? Well, I hope he heard me because he dropped right out. Yeah. So anyway, I do want to check in the chat. We got Samantha Wismer checking in saying, Joey Decord is hyper aggressive. Hershey found a way around him. And then she also says, it was me. I wore a Coachella shirt in Hershey. I was the magic turning point. She didn't just wear a shirt. I saw signs, everything. So if you saw that in Hershey, that was our good friend, Sam Wismer. And then Will Myers the third back again saying hello, friends, or hello again, friends. Hello again, Will. 3 Bears emojis. But if you want to join in on the conversation again, just comment on Facebook and YouTube, just like Sam and Will did, or just tweet us at the Holy Grail, #THG Live. But I'm going to turn the show over to Zack Power, and he's going to just talk a little bit about how we got to this pivotal Game 6.
For sure. And obviously this has been a historic series in so many different levels. And we began things with games 1 and 2, which started us in the desert. To keep in mind that these 2 teams have never met coming into this, as many Calder Cup Finals opponents do. But this is kind of one of those things where Coachella Valley has really been facing someone from the East for almost really the first time. And I'm going to say for the first time ever, don't quote me on that. But Joey Decord, he's been your man. And through the first 3 games, something like 83 of 88 shots. And that's what really held the Bears at bay through the first two games. But really in game three, that's where we started seeing a bit of a redemption. I'll talk about that. Through the first two games, they outscored the Bears 9-0. And that wasn't the end of the Bears, who came back and all but coined what we thought would be redemption, what we called redemption for them. A 5-4 decision in overtime proved to be the winner. Dan Bylsma earned that his team would come back and play as they did in the first few shifts of that game three overtime, where he thought that was some of the best hockey that they played all series, which I thought was quite interesting. But in truly, in my opinion, a lackluster effort, or maybe some solid defense by the Bears, whatever way you spin it, they lost 3-2 in game four, and only putting up some single-digit shots in the first and third period didn't really help that either. And home ice advantage has really played true here so far, which kind of brings us to game five, which in chess they would call a closed game, where there's simply no movement between the chess pieces. And this has kind of been the first movement that we've seen was in overtime. And that's when the penalty box door flipped open and closed. And two penalties by the Coachella Valley Firebirds, in my opinion, really was one of the Achilles heels, because they never really did have an opportunity to come out and play the way that they wanted. And it would be until the 10-minute and 1 second mark of OT, back to even strength for just 7 seconds, and Garrett Pilon is the winner. Now, Hunter Shepard, an interesting stat for you. Shepard joined Johnny Bauer in 1953, Dennis DeJordy, Hunter Tokarski, and Anton Forsberg as the only goaltenders with a 1-0 overtime shutout in the Calder Cup finals, which I think is quite interesting, that really there's only been, 5 times that there's ever been a 1-0 game in the Calder Cup finals in overtime, I guess. So an interesting one, which kind of leads us now here to game 6. And I'm sure that both of you have lots to talk about in how both these teams can kind of take it to the next level.
I want to focus first on the team that's up in the series right now, the visitors, the Hershey Bears. And yeah, look at that big old beast running through the water. They kind of got all the momentum right now. I mean, 3 straight wins, and it's their series to lose at this point. But I'm going to harken back to a couple of their problems from the first couple games in this series when they were in California, and see if they can kind of tweak on some things as they're here visiting again in Acrisure Arena. Number one is going to be, stay out of the box. And Daryl Sutter said it the best last year's playoffs. And the first California leg this series, Hershey just had a parade of players heading to the penalty box there. And not only does that leave you vulnerable to getting scored on, but, as you alluded to there, Zach, for Coachella, it really just threw them off their offensive rhythm by being forced to defend. You can never really get the puck, generate chances, possession, and as a result, just kind of you saw what happened. The first 2 games, they just get a couple of donuts there, like they're Homer Simpson. So the Bears got to keep disciplined, play going, and, just play 5-on-5 more often and try and get more of the momentum going at even strength here. Number 2, just shots. On the road, you're not going to have dealer's choice on matching your lines up here. So Hershey's got to gobble up that puck, and they really need to shoot it whenever they have a chance. Whether it's high quality or not is really going to be a secondary concern to them, I think, here. They really need to test a cord, test that Firebirds defense. And, if you get an early one here in Game 6 tonight, then the game's squarely in your hands. Now you got Coachella with, tightened grips on their sticks, and they're second-guessing themselves and everything. So it's just kind of putting more of the pressure on them and keeping the game on your stick. Number 3 is going to definitely need some quick outs of the zone. Coachella's forecheck, especially on home ice, has been absolutely murderous this postseason. I saw them take out the number 1 team in the league on the back of their own forechecking prowess. So, sometimes a good play from the Bears is just going to be bank it off the glass and get it out of the zone. Because if you give this team extended offensive zone time from the Firebirds, they will wear you down. So Hershey just can't make it easy on these guys. And number 4, I think this might be the biggest one for them here tonight. Hershey's just got to play loose. You're up 3-2. You're playing with house money here, essentially. 2 chances to clinch the cup on the road. If anything, there really shouldn't be any nerves here for the Bears. No matter the crowd noise, no matter the lights, no matter whatever the situation is, they should be feeling like they're skating without weights on their skates at all. Like they should be flying out there. So put it all on black and let it ride. That's why I say, just take a chance, go for the jugular. And I mean, if all else fails, you have the winner takes all on Wednesday night. So I expect Hershey to come out flying. They want to get this one done quick and grab the momentum early. And like I said, if they can get that early one, that's going to change the entire makeup of this game going forward.
All right, and we're going to take a look at what Coachella Valley needs to win this very important do or die game 6. So Zach already alluded to that home ice advantage here in the Calder Cup Finals. It has been just, I can't state how important this is. They need to harness that home ice advantage. I mean, up through game 5 of this series, the home team has a perfect 5-0 record. So there's something to say about that. Good home cooking, sleeping in your own bed, and just being with your own fans. So whatever good vibes are going on at home, embrace it, enjoy it, and just do whatever you need to do to win. But again, talk about Joey Daccord. He has been probably the MVP of this team this postseason, and he needs to be him. He's been nothing but spectacular this season, but that extra level we saw in game 5, well, he kind of needs to one-up one of his best performances of the season to give the Firebirds a shot here. This is this is the first time all season long, regular and post, that he has lost 3 straight games. That's practically unheard of in almost any league you're looking at for a goaltender. But head coach Dan Bylsma, he's going to rely on Joey Daccord again, hopefully for them, not for Hershey fans, but for Coachella Valley, hopefully relying on him 2 more times to bring Mr. Calder to the warm palm tree covered Coachella Valley. So we know they're the Firebirds. They need to regain that fire. They're leading the series in scoring 15-9. So obviously they have more than enough firepower to win games and win games by a lot. Hershey wins are only by a singular goal this series. I mean, the big guns have to get going again. Here's a stat for you. Cole Lind, Max McCormick, Riker Evans, Alexander True, Jesper Froden, Andrew Podorowski, and Ty Cartier totaled 18 points in games 1 and 2. That's 6 goals and 12 assists between that group. In the next 3 games, games 3 to 5, they were held to 1 goal and 4 assists. So if they really, truly want to win, well, they got to score early and do it by at least 2 goals. They're 5-8 in 1-goal games this playoff. Meanwhile, the Bears, they're 5-1. So now's not the time to test those odds. And for my final key, speaking of those odds, there is one stat on Coachella's side here. They are currently 4-0 in elimination games, all 4 coming by a combined total score of 20-9. Oh, yeah, by the way, those were also on their home ice. They've won the last 6 home contests, tying, and it seems like we always find a way to bring in the Chicago Wolves, but this ties the 2002 Chicago Wolves for the most ever in a singular postseason. And a nice little stat right here from YouTube, Racist Fan Rocks 4. If Coachella loses this series, the Pacific Division will be 0-2 in the finals. So we're going to go ahead and take it back to the Giant Center, and our friend Corey Swartz checking back in with us. Corey, how's it going out there in Hershey?
Hey guys, doing good so far. I finally got my my camera issue sorted. I still don't really know what was up with that, but here we are. I'm against the Bears Hall of Fame here at the Giant Center. Just inside is where the watch party's taking place. There's a lot of noise in there, so that's why I came out here. But yeah, we're getting ready, man. It's a good crowd here. Most of the middle 2 sections, the prime real estate for watching on the big screen here are pretty well and filling up here. They're starting to get things ready. There was a graduation here earlier today, so there's no ice down on the Giant Center floor at this point here. It's covered up at this point here. So we're getting ready for things to start up here in just a couple of minutes.
So what's the vibe there? Is everyone excited? Is it more of a nervous energy? Just what's the general vibe as we get closer to puck drop at the top of the hour?
I'd call it a little nervous still. I mean, I think that until it really starts to get going, everybody's going to be feeling a little bit nervous still, just because of the way games 1 and 2 went, just because of the situation here. I know me and Zach talked about it before the series started. You really don't want to go to 7 with these guys, especially on the road, give them any kind of momentum here at this point. But it's going to be hard. You're going to have to counter a very active, very raucous crowd in Coachella Valley at Acrisure Arena here tonight. It's going to be the biggest, challenge for the Bears. Again, we were talking about earlier, I think that games 1 and 2 were closer than what those final scores indicate. The Bears maybe should have scored more than one goal they had there. So I think that it's going to be a completely different kind of game. But, you always are going to feel nervous until the first goal or two goes in, I think, if you're a Hershey Bears fan on this night, for sure.
I like the setup here that you got going there. You just got to bring attention to that real quick. It's coming in real nice. You putting any product in that, or is that just all natural?
It's all natural. I never grew a beard quite like this before. I mean, you guys know this from my time being here at the very least. I've never let it go this far, but I may keep it. Who knows? At least for a little while, should all things go according to plan here for me. If not, it may be gone in a hurry. You never know. So it's been fun, though. Like I said, never let it go this far before. I've enjoyed having it. It's kind of nice to, be able to feel like a player in that respect and itch at something if you really feel like it. So it's been a lot of fun here. I've not been involved in something like this for so long. It feels like that it's almost like a brand new experience in a lot of ways.
Have they started planning the parade?
No, I'm sure they have plans going on behind the scenes. Not quite that way here in Hershey. They would not give out bulletin board material like that to the other team, I think. So I'm sure they have some closely guarded secrets, is probably my suspicion, my guess at this point. But if I had to guess, they're keeping it very close to the vest. Zach Fish was very adamant on that in the broadcast after Game 5, where he said, we're not there yet. He said that every time I've tweeted him saying, like, you topped your goal calls here and stuff like that. He said, there's more to be done. We're not done yet. There's more to do. So, not until that's, that final, horn is sounded, I think that there will be no discussions about that until then.
I remember in 2014, there was the series between Texas and St. John's, and there was almost this feeling inside the town that once the team went to Texas, they couldn't really boo them or scream them out of the building. Is that kind of the sense that you're kind of getting there today at the Giant Center?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, the obviously winning 3 games at home is going to do something for you no matter what, right? That's taking advantage of your home ice. I've not been in a louder game, I think, at least in a decade than I was, when that Garrett Pilon goal went in on Saturday night, before that huge crowd of almost 11,000 fans at Giant Center, vying for a record there set back in 2010. But, it's not been louder. There's not been people more engaged. I know I went and got gas before I came over here, and I ran into a bunch of Bears fans. They all kind of came in there and said, you're going to the watch party tonight. I'm like, it, man. I wouldn't be anywhere else, even if it is 10 o'clock at night and I have to work tomorrow. So do it all. It's one of those experiences you're just not going to get every day. So it's worth every second, every sleep-deprived moment I'm sure I'll suffer through tomorrow. It'll be well worth it to be here for this kind of event. Hoping not to have to do it more than once, though. I would be lying to you if I didn't say that.
Do they have the coffee brewing at the concession stands?
Yeah, there's a limited amount of stuff open here, but it's open in full. So you can get your pretzels, your chicken strips, whatever you want to get. You can basically get the same thing you can get on game days here right now, with the exception of a few of the in-arena spots here. So, of course, it's hard to, I'm sure, staff events like this where it's starting at 10 o'clock and you never know how late it could go possibly. So I know I'm going to be picking up a soda here for just the pure caffeine of it, frankly. So, I'm thankful for that for sure.
I get it. Just before we got on, I brewed myself a shot of espresso. Got to get that caffeine going. But Andrew listed his keys to Hershey's winning tonight. And I listed mine for Coachella Valley. In your mind, I mean, you were there in person for 3 of these games, what is your one key for each team to secure a victory tonight?
Well, I think for both teams, it's got to be who's get on the board first. Like that was such a key in those couple of games to Hershey's success, was that they scored the first goal and they were able to play from that position of strength. Now, obviously, in all those games, it either went to overtime, or got very close. So it's not the end all be all. But we didn't see any lead shifts in games 3, 4, and 5, right? Like it was mostly either even or, obviously Coachella Valley eliminated a 2-goal deficit twice. So, but I think as Hershey's kind of gone along, they just want that defensive game, that kind of, calmness that they had in games 3, 4, and 5 to really carry over to this game here on the road. They've been great on the road, though. So, with the exception of the, prior 2 games, so they've won, 2 series on the road preceding this one against Rochester, against Hartford, and against some pretty hostile crowds. You can't discount Charlotte in the first round either for them. All those crowds were very hostile, loud places to play in. I think that the Bears, now they kind of have their legs under them, found their footing in this series, so to speak, and, said, hey, we can find success in this series. It's a totally different, probably vibe, I think, for it, just across the board as a result of that.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and ask you just one final question. That way you can go get your soda, grab your seat, and enjoy all the pregame festivities. But this one coming on Twitter again from my husband at GPWCBJ. He wants to know, does Coco savor sweet victory tonight, or does Fuego rise from the ashes to force a Game 7?
Sweet victory, man. I said it with my preview with Zach. You don't want to go to 7 games with these guys. You really don't. You guys mentioned to it just before I joined you guys, they've been so good in facing elimination. I think if you're the Bears, this is the game you want to put your foot down and say, we shifted this momentum. I would like it to be a less stressful game than the last 3, personally. But, I feel confident that the Bears, will be able to take care of business here. They found the formula. I don't see it changing anytime soon. And by the way, guys, there was just a chant going. I don't know if it picked up in my microphone at all from the inside there. They want something here. They want it.
I wonder what that thing is.
There's plenty of cups at the concession stands.
There's chicken strips.
There was a great sign at, I was watching a little bit of the pregame on AHL TV. Somebody had a great sign. They said, you guys can have Reese's cups. We want Calder cups in the desert there. So their sign game's been pretty vicious so far. So, it's an interesting dichotomy they had there. So, they both fan bases are really bringing it in this final series. And hey, we talked about it a little bit before, but there's a nice charity prize up on the line for whoever wins as well, of $10,000 to charity. So you can't beat that.
Yeah, so we will talk about that here very shortly. But Corey, go enjoy, grab that soda. Let me walk you guys in here a little. Oh yeah, sure. Oh no, and that's what is.
Well, I'll just show you.
A nice turnout there for coming up on 10 o'clock on a Monday night. Not bad at all.
We're ready to go here. That was my buddy Will that was commented earlier that you saw waving with his Erie Otters jersey on.
Solid jersey choice.
So it's a lucky jersey. So that's what we're going with right now. So we're ready to rumble here.
There we go. There we go. All right. Well, Corey, thank you so much for your time. Go enjoy it. And hopefully we'll be, well, basically not hopefully, but you will have Corey's game recap, I am sure, coming up very soon after this one. So go enjoy, have fun, and go get yourself some caffeine, friend.
Will do. Let's go Bears.
All right. Okay. So let's just talk real quick while we're still on the topic of all this. Puck drop's going to be happening here in a few minutes. But guys, he mentioned the Hershey Bears and Coachella Firebirds doing the Calder Cup Community Challenge. $10,000 from the opposing team to the winning team's charity of choice.
That's a hefty sum. That's not chump change there. That's a lot of cheddar going one way or the other. But at the end of the day, it is for a great cause. So whoever becomes the loser, I mean, yeah, you're gonna have to pony up a couple bucks, but it's all in the name of something great. And that's been one of the things that's really tugged at my heartstrings since I started covering the AHL, was just how much that these teams give back to their communities. And in this one, it's kind of a bit of like a wager going in, just in the spirit of fun at the end of the day. But again, going to people who really desperately need it. So we love to see it, and in the spirit of the game, it's great.
And a good thing too, someone mentioned to me one time that, it's one of the times that we always think about giving back or to charity or whatnot is around the holidays, right? And they find that summer is kind of one of the toughest months to kind of get some of those donations. And so to be able to have something coming into the summer, these charities really appreciate having that extra funds coming here at a critical time.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter if it's going to food bank or libraries or equipment for kids. There's going to be a huge benefit in either the Coachella Valley or in Hershey, Pennsylvania, coming from whichever team ends up coming up in second place. I hate to say lose, but that's basically what it is. But yeah, if you haven't already tuned in and you're listening to us in the background, you can watch this game. I believe it's on the NHL network. A lot of local stations across the Northeast and then down in California. Or there's always watchtheahl.com, which I'm currently working on trying to bring up. Apparently, I've reset my password and my computer doesn't remember it. So
And it's
you can
one of
watch
those,
me frantically try to find this password.
if you've watched a playoff game on AHL TV at some point throughout the playoffs as well, that is also carried into the finals. You don't have to renew or anything like that. You can go in and watch that as well. So if your team got eliminated in the first round or somewhere before in the playoffs and you want to catch this game here tonight, you can check that out on AHL TV as well.
So we do have a question from Races Fan Rocks for kind of going away from the Calder Cup discussion here, but looking into the future. We've heard all of the talk about the Arizona Coyotes, and he wants to know if Arizona moves to Houston, which at least as far as I'm aware, there's no solid plan. So it's just kind of speculation talk here. So a little fun to break the ice here. But do you think that the Rampage will come back to the AHL?
100%. No doubt about it. Having a team in Tucson has been great, but unfortunately, having a possibility of a team in San Antonio. And San Antonio was a lot like Houston when they left the AHL as well. It wasn't entirely their decision. I don't think that the owners entirely wanted San Antonio to leave, from what I understand. So they had to make way for Henderson, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a no-brainer to kind of bring it back. The fans obviously missed it. And hey, you guys didn't get your last kind of hurrah either, your last kind of send-off of the team because of COVID-19 happened so quick. Everybody said, oh, this is going to be 2 weeks. It turned out to be 2.5 years. So you know what? I 100%, I'm putting all the chips on the table for this. Yeah,
that's a market that I feel like has been sorely missing in this league. And again, kind of the fans, it's got to be a little cathartic, right? To get something back after the way that it ended for them, unfortunately. So nothing against Tucson, but I think we've seen such a pattern of teams wanting to be so close to their AHL affiliates and everything. I mean, San Antonio, a couple hours down the road from Houston. It seems like it would be a no-brainer if that is indeed what ends up transpiring with the Coyotes. And it's a little shaky right now with everything going on in Arizona. So we can speculate more on that once we know what happens to the Yoders from there. At least they'll be playing maybe in a bigger arena, hopefully.
Nothing like a bit of good speculation.
Hey, it's always good fun.
Deana's got herself muted.
Uh-oh.
Well, the Coachella Valley Firebirds, thanks, Zach, are, I thought I hit the button on my mic. Apparently, I hit the volume button instead. Are coming out on the ice. They're announcing their starting lineup. Joey Decord making his 25th 25-5 start of the postseason for the Firebirds. Hunter Shepard once again going for Hershey. That is courtesy of Patrick Williams, and he noted that is not a typo. That's a lot of games, isn't it?
20.
It
Yeah,
is.
that's what I thought. 25 is a lot
for a postseason. Oh my gosh! But if Patrick Williams at P Williams AHL says it, I take that as gospel.
Mm-hmm.
You
think how that they've been pushed the distance in every series prior, other than the conference finals, which went to 6 games, not 7, but every divisional series went the distance. This one, if they can win tonight, will be going the distance. So I feel like Decord's got to be making some kind of record of postseason starts at this point.
And you also have to think, too, with these expanded playoffs, it's kind of changed thing as well. And I want to go back to Corey's point, and I made it going into this series as well. When Coachella Valley gets pushed to the brink, they push back. I seen it when they went up against Tucson. They pushed back, and they pushed back hard. Against Colorado, they pushed hard. Now, it wasn't so much of a steep climb. Calgary, look at the series, the way that ended. And that was a tight series, right? You know, they're going to push back this game. Just you watch. This game isn't going to go the same way it did in games 3, 4, and 5.
Well, with this, his 25th start, Joey Decord now takes over the AHL record for most games by a goaltender and one playoff. It was at 24, and that was held by Andrei Pavlik of Chicago in the 2008 playoffs, Matt Hackett from Houston in 2011, and Peter Mrazek, Grand Rapids in 2013. So either way, history has been made tonight.
Hey, Grand Rapids playoff hockey. Who would have thought?
Something we haven't seen in a few years.
I know. I would like it back, please. Thank you.
And you also have to think, too, that he's also started 38 games for the Coachella Valley Firebirds throughout the regular season as well. So it's been a very, very long season for him, as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
But is it going to be one more game or 2? That's the question. So before puck drop, before we can get a little bit of a bias going here, who do you guys think wins? Hershey, Coachella?
I think Zach made a great point about Coachella and their ability to push back and ability to respond. On home ice, I got to lean to the Firebirds here. I'm sorry, Corey, if you watched back on this.
I'm going to say that there's some jet lag for the Hershey Bears. I really do think that that's a thing, especially for a team that's coming out west for really the first time all season. I think that there's going to be a little bit of jet lag. You know what? They might be able to finish it in 7, but they're not going to be able to finish it in 6.
I'm going to say that adrenaline is a heck of a thing. And when you are, I mean, they are riding off such of a high here. I think they can do it despite the jet lag, despite all of that. And puck is down, by the way. I think Hershey finds a way to grind it out and give their fans back in Pennsylvania a little bit of a reprieve to where they don't have to do a watch party twice this week at 10 p.m. Hopefully. So not much action so far. We are only 6 seconds into this, and we already have another center ice face-off here.
I think Hershey's going to be very fine with a game like that. That just kind of is a lot of constant stop and go, kind of turn the ice into a giant mud bath and, try and skate through all that. They don't really want to go, I've said this before, but they don't really want to go, chance for chance, get in the track meet with this team because that's Coachella's bread and butter. Slow the game down, get it to grind it out, as you said, and just get, I'm going to say get dirty, but I don't mean in the way that you make illegal plays, but more like, get into the corners, get in front of the nets, kind of get, roll the sleeves up and get a little greasy in there. I mean, it's playoff hockey. It's what you got to do. Do those little things. Though, it's such a cliche about talking about those, all the little things that add up, but the reason it's a cliche is because it's true. It's that old adage that's lived on through generations of this sport. So don't try and reinvent the wheel. That's all I'm saying.
We talked about it earlier in the playoffs too, about how one greasy goal can kind of change things. And I took it back to, it was Colorado and San Jose who had that greasy goal that kind of finished things from the corner back in 2010, or maybe it was in the mid 90s when the Sharks upset the Red Wings with that shot from the corner as well. And you know what? Throwing things onto the net is kind of one of those things that you never know what can happen, especially in a game like this where the goaltenders have really been pushed to their max.
Well, each goaltender has had a chance to feel that puck on their gloves, on their pads, each team with one shot, just a little over a minute in. But the coaches are sending a message with their starting lineups. I think they are not messing around tonight. Starting out for Hershey, Vecchione, Borgstrom, Frank, Nesson Day on defense, and of course, Hunter Shepard. And get done talking about Hershey. They just scored a goal on their second shot of the night. Up to a very early 1-0 lead. Connor McMichael.
And that's Connor McMichael. And this was just very much a case of just throwing the puck towards the net and waiting to see what happens. The pass came from the circles right out into the slot. And that's what it was, is just a kind of slot pass and right in front of the net, hanging out, waiting for that greasy pass. DeCord had no chance on that. There's no defense there on McMichael, and we have ourselves a 1-0 game.
Yeah, that's going to have to be how every team or how either team wins this game. I mean, these goaltenders are not going to let routine saves go.
And this is very much a Hershey Bears team that we kind of expected to see them come out, or at least some expected them to see come out with some sort of tenacity. In the first minute 44, they've already dumped on 6 shots on net, right? Mm-hmm. So these guys are really kind of pushing it to the metal. And you know what? Maybe there's something to be said about adrenaline here, right? They're kind of riding high and seeing how quickly they can dump as many pucks in on net.
Shots. I was literally talking about this right before this happened.
6 shots in 2 minutes. 7 shots in 2 minutes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and for McMichael, he came into this one with just 1 assist this series. So again, Hershey hasn't had kind of the workhorses on offense like I alluded to in the beginning of this show, but they don't care. They're winning the game the way that they play the game, and it's everyone pulling on that rope on the same end. And you okay, they don't have your Cole Linds or your Max McCormicks, but they don't, like I said, they don't care because they're going to get contributions from everywhere in the lineup. And it's at the end of the day when everyone pulls on that side of the rope, well, that's what leads you to where we're at right now.
I mean, just watching the performance of both of these teams this series, you have to think that the brass higher on up in the NHL is looking at these draft picks. I mean, former first-round draft pick of the Capitals, Connor McMichael, breaking the scoreless tie here in this one, just a minute 33 into the game. You have to think that they have to be very pleased with how their prospects are showing this postseason.
And on the same side, for the Kraken in the Firebirds, between Ty Cartier and Riker Evans, a lot of young players over there. I mean, talk about Shane Wright before kind of getting his first taste of playoff action at the professional level. We can glaze over a lot, and I know it still somehow remains a talking point about the AHL being a minor league and everything, but I don't know how many times we can pull out the stat of how much of the NHL has spent time in the American League and how you learn the tools for the NHL in this league and through series like this and having young players going through that. And I mean, harken back to a name you mentioned earlier, Peter Mrazek, going through a Calder Cup run. And granted, he didn't really have a Stanley Cup run because he was playing for Detroit during the waning years of the dynasty, but still, he's turned that into a lengthy NHL career. And you see these guys that make untold contributions down here at this level. Then at the NHL, they take those tools, take those lessons, and apply it at the next level, at the highest level. I mean, the next level is the highest level. We're just a step away here. This is high quality stuff. And I was just hearkening back to that Nashville radio host that was talking about, like, I'm not even going to mention that guy anymore. This is what it's all about right here for these young players and for these vets that are kind of showing these guys the way. This is what it's all about.
Yeah, and you were talking about goaltenders who led the team to a Calder Cup final. And a great example for that to me was Garrett Sparks, who has ever since flourished to be an all-star goaltender in the league and has done nothing but great things since.
Wait a minute.
Well, looks like we've got our first penalty of the night. Just waiting to see the official call here. Maybe, maybe not. At least there's a stoppage of play.
There was a whistle. Okay.
There was a whistle. I saw the ref signaling up, maybe just out of play. Okay. They were just pointing to where the face-off will be. But if you're watching, stick with us. We're going to be here with you until the end of the first period. Then at that point, we're going to have to log off because Zach is on the far, far East Coast. Andrew and I are both in the Eastern time zone. And as much as we would love to be here with you all night, we all have day jobs to get to in the morning. So we'll be catching...
I told them I turned into a pumpkin at midnight, and we're about 43 minutes away from that. So
so in other words, we can't have any lengthy delays in gameplay, right? Like no glass issues, no net issues. Don't even
speak it into the universe. That's how these
did.
Andrew, you had the pleasure of covering Calgary and Coachella Valley. How was that?
Uh-oh.
So for context for our listeners, I'm over here on the East Coast, as was alluded to, at least the Eastern time zone, covering a series on the Pacific time zone that went to 3 overtimes. I can't say that I was awake for all of them, but I remember one-eyeing it as Riker Evans shot the puck past Dustin Wolf in about 8 minutes into the third overtime. And I was like, okay, cool. Closed my laptop. I wrote the recap in the morning. It was not... I was not productive for work the next day. I can tell you that.
Were you having exhaustion, confusion between Riker Evans and Max Lejoie again?
No, that useful little mnemonic means I will never ever forget who Riker Evans or Max Lejoie ever was. Not that I would ever forget Max, but he'll live on forever and just through Riker, which is fantastic.
Forever entwined, whether they like it or not. But it looks like the attempts have really slowed down here for the last couple minutes here. It's still sitting at 7 shots for Hershey, 2 shots for Coachella Valley. We are now 7 minutes into this game. Score, Hershey 1, courtesy of Connor McMichael, a minute 33 in. Coachella Valley scoreless. If you guys have questions, comments, want to cheer on your team, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and put it in the comments. If you're on Twitter, just use the hashtag THGLive.
That was just another really nice play from what we've seen from Hershey. I didn't manage to get the number, but that was another example of where we're starting to see these little cracks inside the defense of the Coachella Valley Firebirds, who have just been kind of playing a little lacklustery defensively, I think, to start out. And this is one of those things that I mentioned this going into the series, that Hershey's going to start holding them accountable for this. If you can't figure out a way to stop Hershey to come in, they're going to have some decent shots. And that was another fun example of where Joey Decord has had to stand up and kind of stop the defense and the offense in their tracks. So if I'm the Coachella Valley Firebirds, I'm going to use this TV timeout, which is going on here right now, to kind of sit and say, all right, this cannot happen again. We need to start to settle down on these these defensive cracks that we're seeing so far.
And as for, Coachella, they got 2 shots in 7.5 minutes of gameplay. What do they got to do to kind of test Hunter Shepard here? Other than to just shoot the puck from every angle, which I told Hershey to do, and they seem to be listening and they're winning. So maybe Coachella just kind of.
I think there's a lot of patience to it too, right? Maybe Hershey's going to try to come out and try to push their style of play on them, and that's kind of seemed to work so far. Taking things a step down and kind of taking it at a micro level is kind of where I would start at least. Let's start with some passes to get it out of the zone. Let's get through the neutral zone and then worry about starting to get set up in the offensive zone. Sure, it'd be great to kind of see some shots thrown towards the net, but if you have time, take those quality shots as well. But for me, I would just take my time, get into the zone, and then start getting some of those greasy shots in on net and just keep jamming at it. You got to find a way to get around Hunter Shepard here.
Mm-hmm.
And Corey actually sending us some video of the Giant Center celebrating that first goal. So I'm going to bring that up here and just listen to this.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, they're fired up.
And here comes the Bears chant.
Quality chant.
Well, they are having fun over in Hershey, the true most diehard of fans at 10:22 p.m. on a Monday night, cheering on their Bears from across the country. So there's 11:02 now remaining in the first. Coachella Valley has gotten another shot on goal, but it's still in favor of Hershey, 7-3 in shots. Favor of Hershey where it counts, 1-0 on the scoreboard.
I do think that Zach's got something about like the patience and the feeling out. It's obviously plenty of game left and it's not panic time for Coachella. But when do you start getting to that? I guess it's all situationally depending and everything in the playoffs, but depending on scores and everything. But I mean, you're on home ice, you got the momentum, you get one down early. Like I said, plenty of time, but do you start? When do the wheels?
You don't want to go into the third down. I think that's kind of the way I would look at it, at least, right? And kind of judge yourself, right? Like if we're getting down to 10 minutes in the second period and I'm down 1-0, maybe I'm gonna start my play because you don't want to start doing it in the third period. A lot of teams do it, and it works for some teams. It doesn't work for others. I find sometimes when you kind of push too hard in the third period, you start to make a lot of mental mistakes. I've seen the Marlies do that a lot over the course of the season, where they would get down to the 10-minute mark of the third period and say, oh, shoot, I'm losing. Didn't realize. And then they'll start to kind of just push and push and push. But then they're making a lot of mental mistakes. They're going onto the power play now. This might be an opportunity for them to do so.
Ooh.
Yeah, Gabriel Carlson in the box, waiting to see what the official penalty call is. But with 10:07 remaining in the first period, Gabriel Carlson from Hershey going to the box for hooking. And one thing we didn't think to mention, or if you guys did, I don't remember you saying it. This is Connor McMichael's goal is the first goal for Hershey on the road this series.
Mm-hmm.
They've broken the glass ceiling.
Yeah, a couple of donuts in the first 2 games. It's good if you like sweets. It's not good if you like goals, but
and there it is.
Yep. I told you, stay out of the box.
And that's the captain too.
As my stream is literally giving me the buffering circle
Oh no.
of terribleness.
So Max McCormick is going to get credit for this goal. And, you know, this started out from the corner. And again, a lot like that last Hershey goal, the pass kind of came out in front and, you know, backhanding it towards the net and getting it up over Hunter Shepard. He was kind of acting as a little bit of a screen there. So there was a little bit of a threat for Hershey to kind of make sure that they covered him. But that pass came from the corner, then moved up to the slot. And we have ourselves a 1-1 hockey game. And Andrew Podorowski getting credit for that assist there, Rinaldi.
Yeah, he's known to do that, especially with the man advantage, man. If you give him some time and space, he's gonna make you pay. I mean, that's Potts. That's his game. That's what he does. I mean, especially like you give him a do or die game. Like they never really had that in Chicago. The closest I could tell you was that Western Conference Final. They're up 3-0 against Stockton, but Stockton comes back, wins 2. And I remember I had that interview with Coach Warsofsky, who's now an assistant with the San Jose Sharks. And he said, I asked him like the one big moment of that series and of that leadership group. And he said, they're walking through the airport coming back from Chicago. And he said that, you know, Steph Nason and Potts, they just kind of turned and looked at everyone and they're like, we got this. And it wasn't cocky. It was just like supreme confidence in them and in their group. And then Potts scores the sealing goal with 1:20 in that game 6 to send them to the Calder Cup, and the rest is history. So if you need a guy to make a play at this level, it's hard for us to find a more clutch player than Potts. But I mean, again, we've pumped his tires so many times in this pod. I know I do a lot of it. And how do you want me to look what he's done? Look what he.
Well, I mean, just looking at that goal by itself, finally my my computer decided to let me see that goal. And it's just another one of those greasy goals, down low. Andrew Podorowski off to the side, gets that puck right on Max McCormick's stick. And again, they're cheering in Coachella Valley.
And you know what? Again, another goal for the Coachella Valley Firebirds, and it kind of goes back to what we kind of been saying all along, is throw things towards the net. And this is again another example of that, from the point, the initial shot, and then the low shot, and everybody scrambling for it. Shepard made the initial save, and this maybe has to start going back to the defense of both these teams, is you can't let someone hang out in front of the net. That's the third goal between these two where we've seen the puck go out towards the front of the net and someone's just standing there to tap it in, right? And so that's the now second goal for the Firebirds.
Yep, John Hayden tapping in the Riker Evans shot. So we have a Max Lajoie sighting at the Calder Cup final.
I mean, talk about Knight's depth scoring on that one, though. I mean, that's his first goal of the playoffs.
What a time!
Yeah, what a time to do that. And what did I say in my keys? They got to start scoring early, scoring often. They've got to get out to at least a multi-goal lead, because the odds are, if you're only leading by, if it's a 1-goal game for Coachella Valley, odds are they're going to lose and Hershey's going to win. So they're getting going. Hershey looking a little rattled, and Corey just has one thing to say. ... Dang it.
Well, again, I'm impressed by the response of this Coachella team again. I mean, down in the series, down 1-0, and 2 quick ones. I mean, not even 2 minutes, and they just grabbed the lead right back. And that game 5 against Calgary, they were just so fast and furious with the goals and scoring them in all different types of ways on top of it. Like, they just have so many different angles to attack you from. It's really hard to defend when you have a team that can just comes at you 4 lines and just shoves it right down them. So it's it's been incredible to watch. This team just doesn't give up, and it's you're not going to bury them quietly. That's for sure.
And that kind of gave me shades of the Tucson elimination game in the opening round. And just as you said that when you said they come in fast and furious, and then they come in and attack you from all different angles. And I think that that's kind of what we're starting to see the little shades of here once again. They've turned into that we got our back up against the wall sort of mode, and let's just see however way we can put this puck on net.
So for those keeping track at home, that was a minute 51 in between the two goals for Coachella Valley. Again, that was Max McCormick and then John Hayden. That first goal ended a shutout streak of exactly 83 minutes.
Maybe I'll ask you guys, is there any point that Hershey needs to start panicking here? We talked about Coachella Valley like 3 minutes ago, but is there any point that Hershey, like, I don't know if they, I don't want to say that they don't need to, but, do they?
I don't think they're panicking in this game. Even if you go and get dummied like 6-1 or something like that, like you don't panic until you're trailing in Game 7. I feel like I said, they don't have any nerves. They should be just kind of playing loose and just playing their game. And if it doesn't happen, you still have another chance at it on Wednesday. But yeah, you're playing with house money tonight. I don't think that they're in their. I mean, they shouldn't at least be in their heads tonight. And if Coach Nelson's got them, probably I would say on the same track, just thinking like, stick to your game. Your backs aren't against the wall here, so just play loose and play how you've been playing this entire series.
I don't think there's any point for them to panic. There's a time for them to become concerned, but not panicked.
I think that's a good way to put it.
That's a great way of putting it as well.
Yeah.
I think that Corey would beg to differ, knowing that he's going to have to show up to the 7th game at the Giant Center.
Well, it's not even 14 minutes into Game 6. We're talking about Game 7? Don't do this.
Before the horse.
I hate to hit you with this, Zach, but yet I don't. You're not doing this. You're not doing this.
Well, but you have to admit, too, there's been a bit of a shift since the opening 5 minutes. The past 9 minutes have been all Coachella Valley, be it some of it on the power play, but we've seen a very hard push from Dan Bilesma's squad.
Stay out of the box. I wish I had the Daryl Sutter clip just queued up, and anytime they could take a penalty, I'd just be, stay out of the box. Stay out of the box. Because
we need to get you a soundboard.
Yeah.
For next season.
I just need an entire Daryl Sutter soundboard, and then
I wonder if anyone's ever created that.
It's got to be on the internet somewhere. I mean, all the things that you can find on the internet, you're gonna tell me there's not a Daryl Sutter soundboard? I'm gonna call BS on that. Not me Googling it.
I'm not seeing a Daryl Sutter soundboard.
Well, I guess someone's got to make one.
If we have anybody watching that can do anything, coding, anything like that, and you can create, Andrew, a Daryl Sutter soundboard or just an AHL soundboard for us to use for next season, we would really appreciate that.
I wonder if there's like, how many coaches have their own like soundboard out there? Is there like a Mike Babcock soundboard out there? Like, oh, the boys just need to go out there and compete, right? Like,
no,
I don't
soundboard. No, Mike Babcock soundboard is, I don't know. I thought we played a pretty good game there. We got pucks in deep. I thought Hayes made a couple good plays there. Abby has had a strong game. We just didn't finish all our chances.
He's a good player. Good player. I found a hockey soundboard that includes Bobrovsky being back on the case, Nikita Kucherov with the #1 cow excrement stuff, a few holes, horn goals, organs, stuff like that. But I'm not finding anything coaches. But I found that soundboard. If anybody's interested,
We're making progress. Eventually, we got to reach the. Someone's got to make a coach one. I mean, you have torts, and you're not going to make a torts soundboard. That's a shame in of itself.
found a soundboard with every NHL team's goal horn. Come on, there's too many amazing audio snippets from across all levels of hockey. You've got to get a soundboard.
I would do the arena horns one, but the old one at Joe Louis Arena is so much better than they like muffled it at LCA. And I get like, kind of being more audio sensitive and all that, but I don't know. I kind of felt like going to the Joe and having your eardrums ruptured whenever Steve Yzerman or Sergei Fedorov scored was part of the experience. The tinnitus that I have now is all in part of that, and I don't know. I enjoyed that.
So Hershey's getting their first shot of the power play, or on the power play here this evening with 5:18 remaining. Philip Hetman actually getting called for a face-off violation, batting the puck with a hand. So he's going to the box for 2 minutes.
You don't see that one called very often.
No.
Why would you even try that? What's the appeal?
It's
Let me just pick it up and put it in my pocket? Like,
it's a bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see if it pays off for him.
Who was the Maple Leaf that did that like grabbed it out of the air and then just kind of like threw it?
I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember.
Oh, who was it?
It wasn't Lupul, was it?
Oh, was it Lupul? That sounds like a Lupul thing to do, but I want to say this was more recent than that.
It's way more recent than Joffrey Lupul. Whatever happened to Joffrey Lupul?
He was on the Maple Leafs for a while.
Ron Wilson.
Yeah. Oh,
he died under Ron Wilson.
He was on those early Steve Dangle years. Like, yeah.
Yeah, poor guy.
Justin Hall.
I feel like it happened a couple years before that as well, though. But it was Justin Hall. Yeah,
that's the most recent example that we have.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. He literally just ends up with the puck in his hand, and he just boom, just along the boards. This was in 2022, causing the Leafs to go down by 2 players. So there you go.
Dang it.
That's the dang it. Yeah, now I'm just like getting all these YouTube recommendations for all of these mishaps from the Maple Leafs, and it's just like a compilation of the top Leafs embarrassing moments. Like, ooh, how long is that one going to?
That is awesome.
Is it just the highlight reel of the 2021 playoffs?
Oh, ouch.
Just games 5-7.
Ouch. So 3:31 remaining in the first period. Coachella Valley still up 2-1. 8 seconds remaining on this power play with the puck down on Hershey's defensive side, and Petman is free. They have.
I really like the defense from this power play. Dave spent a lot of time making Hershey go down and chase that. And watch out, it's a goal.
It is a goal
That's
for
Cameron
Coachella
Hughes.
Valley.
And you know what?
Oh,
That's just a prime
no.
example of just pushing on the puck and trying to force the issue, right? And this started with just a slow roller going back into the Hershey zone, and Cam Hughes was all over that like peanut butter on toast. There's no way, two ways about it. And you know the dump, and number 6 for Hershey, I can't get the name on him, but you know that was just an
Vincent
example.
Ivario.
Yeah, and Viorio just couldn't get there in time. It was bobbling on his stick, and Cam Hughes came in and shoved it with a nice little shot towards the net. I don't think Shepard was expecting it to happen like that, and make that 3-1 for Hershey.
Throwing pucks
For
on net
Coachella
has
Valley.
been the theme of the first period here, and you know, right after power play ends like that, you can sometimes kind of catch sometimes it's the second unit kind of sleeping, or they got some tired legs out there. I think that's kind of what happened here, was they weren't kind of ready for Coachella to counter so quick. And I mean, talk about turning defense into offense there, and Cam Hughes has been just a goal scoring machine after not putting anything away in this series. He's really shown up. That's his fourth goal just this series.
Getting the primary assist on that, Vila Petman, the guy that just got out of the penalty box. Talk about a way of kind of saying, my bad, I'm sorry to your teammates, and then totally making up for it. And Coachella Valley almost springing a guy on a almost springing Andrew Podorowski on a very, very large breakaway. But luckily the puck was a little bit closer to a Hunter Shepard than Potts.
Mm-hmm.
Game turned around real quick.
Yeah.
So is it too late to go back and change my prediction for the game?
Oh, there's plenty of time. It's
because I'm second guessing the whole adrenaline. Hershey's just got a good thing going.
I mean, they did for a while. That penalty just really kind of it threw the game on its head, and I'm like, oh, okay. I like the banner.
I don't know how they have all these signs made up here in Coachella Valley. I just don't get it. Like it seems like they have one for just about every occasion in this building.
They have a lot for Joey decor. They have stuff for when people go in the box. They have, like, I saw a young girl with one that just says "Get in the box." Like, okay, then you have that one for Cameron Hughes. So there is a print shop or a marker shop near the arena that is doing very well.
Someone in the desert's making bank.
There's a craft convention at the Marriott.
Just some random craft store. And in case you couldn't tell, we're all just getting a little slap happy because where Zach is, it is quickly approaching pumpkin hour.
Yeah,
exactly. I do turn into a pumpkin
at midnight. And for Andrew and myself, we are 1 hour and 17 minutes away from pumpkin hour. So maybe we won't all have to stay up super late tonight.
But hey, this is a good time to plug that Hershey's. We have a writer there, Corey Swartz. He's burning the midnight oil. He's on the caffeine craze as we speak. He will provide you a game recap in the best way that he always does. And I'm sure that he has a lot of thoughts going into the second period, as does Hershey, where they have to kind of rethink how they go into the rest of Game 6.
And you can find that recap and all the other coverage of the playoffs this season and beyond at fieldpasshockey.com as we wind down here on the first period.
This is good, like this, I want to say too, while we have the time, this is probably going to be the last Holy Grail while play is still in action. And you know what? We've had a lot of great coverage so far on the site, like SPHL, ECHL too. If you're got a little hankering for that. We've got lots of good, and you know what? It's been an exciting playoffs with both the Kelly Cup and the Calder Cup as well. I can say that in the President's Trophy in the SPHL. So good times had by all.
I won't put the cart before the horse, but if things line up, Wednesday could still be an option. So let's not say this will be the end yet. Otherwise, we're gonna have to start playing some of the Doors in the background, and this is the end. It's a classic ending album song. Come on, people.
They just want to light the fire here. That's all.
Speaking of having a sign for every occasion, just saw a sign that said Katy Perry called. She wants her roar back. But at least Hershey got on the board in this one, so they're not going to get shut out for the third straight game in California. But we're going to be ending it here with Coachella Valley leading the Hershey Bears 3-1 at the end of the first period. Coachella Valley really resurging back on the shot count, trailing only by 1, 10 for Hershey, 9 for Coachella Valley. Just a quick recap of the goals here. Connor McMichael for Hershey breaking the ice at 1:33. From that point on, it's been all Coachella Valley. Max McCormick on the power play at 10:10. John Hayden getting his first of the postseason at 12:01 of the first, and then Cameron Hughes checking in at 16:52 at even strength. I'm watching Bowie down on the ice, and I'm glad that we're going to be clicking off because I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Fuego, but Bowie is just like it's like a troll gone wrong.
It's gone very wrong. So, any parting thoughts, guys? Of course, once we have a winner announced and all that, we're going to have a full recap for you. But any parting thoughts here as we close out probably the live version of the Holy Grail for the season?
I know Corey's not going to like it, but I want a Game 7. Let's go.
I called a Game 7 last episode. Just saying.
You know what? I think we're going to see a lot in the second and third period. I'd encourage you to watch it where we mentioned before, AHL TV, the NHL Network, wherever. But I wanted to say this, that Coachella Valley came back in kind of a way that I sort of almost expected. They push when they're up against the wall. But for Hershey, it's got to be a case of going back to basics. We can't go the rest of our lives just losing in California here, right? Like, we need to find a way to kind of go back to what we had in the opening 2 minutes where they put 7 shots on net, and they only put 3 shots in the final 18 minutes of that first period, even despite them having a power play. I just want to go back to basics. Go back to what you had before, and let's stop the momentum in its tracks. I think that there is a great possibility that Hershey can come back and win this. They're not out of this. It's only 2 goals, but they got to smarten up, and they got to find a way to get that momentum back and go back to what they had in the first 2 minutes.
They always say 3-1 is the most dangerous lead in hockey. So we'll see what happens. Does Hershey go and get their own caffeine, get fired back up, go out there and extinguish the Firebirds, or do we see that all too pivotal Game 7? That's the question. We'll find out the answer here in a few hours, but that's going to be it for this live pregame / first period show for the Holy Grail. If you'd like to see or hear more of us, please subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever you like to listen to your favorite podcasts. Also give us a follow over on Twitter at the Holy Grail. Once again, that's GrAHL. If you are on Facebook, you can get updated on all of our episodes by following Field Pass Hockey. You can also check out all of Field Pass Hockey's other podcasts, including the ECHL's or covering the ECHL's Wichita Thunder. It's Matthew Harding and Jason Mouse with the Rolling Thunder podcast. Coming next season, you're also going to have a full-on ECHL podcast with the Coast Cast. Once again, with Matthew Harding, being joined by Zachary Martin. And then for all you AHL fans out there, we have Syracuse Speaks covering the Syracuse Crunch by Alexander Ackerman. On behalf of Zack Power, Andrew Rinaldi, and Corey Swartz back at the Giants Center, we hope you have an amazing night. Enjoy this last game or two of the AHL for the 2022-2023 season. We'll see you next time. Bye.